All right, everyone, we obviously start off today with Trump at CPAC. CPAC overall, like all political conferences, tends to be on the boring side. Really, it was like Trump and Bolsonaro that were showing up the other day, and that's the highlight of it. I like how some of the leftoids are like, well, look, there were empty seats at CPAC. Wait till you see the annual liberal get-together and how few people show up for that. I seem to recall Biden rallies usually had about 10 of them, so we'll see where that goes. Notably absent, people like Paul Ryan, whatever, who cares, Kevin McCarthy, supposedly the backbone, rock-ribbed McCain conservatives of the party. They all seem to have sat it out, and then they wondered why, well, it seems to be a lot of ultra-MAGA here this year at CPAC. I don't know what happened. Well, that's because nobody else wanted to show up and be a punching bag and get booed off stage. Probably would have happened if you had had someone like Kevin McCarthy there. Would have been a little bit amusing. Notably, still a legacy media blackout about the event. Yes, the former president currently running and the presumptive GOP nominee giving a speech will put it on page B. If they talk about it at all, they gaze out at the handful of empty chairs that were in the conference hall or something like that. Well, Trump has lost his gusto. He wasn't getting as much applause as he does in the past. It's interesting spin on it. Link in the description. I thought one of the better parts of it. Of course, calling out the former party leadership, the Jebs and McCains and so forth as maniacs and lunatics, and also pledging to be the people's retribution, to give justice to people. There were other forays that he made. For example, he's now pledging to mass deport illegal aliens in the country. Much like in prior election cycles, I do point out that the logistics of such a thing are exceptionally complicated, and he would need the will of Congress in order to get that done on any meaningful level. Of course, that's not a problem if the House and Senate go MAGA, if the Trump fans end up continuing to do their Bannon-style grassroots organizing, especially with Donald Trump now saying, oh, we're going to become the masters of ballot harvesting. Look for some liberals to look askance to continuing that particular program now that he's doing that, by the way. Be an interesting reversal from some of these people. Better archive those tweets while you can before they get mysteriously disappeared, Stalin style. Some of his proposals I like more than others. Again, mass deporting people, logistically tricky. It'd probably be better to finish the wall first, just pointing that out, because then of course it becomes harder for people to come back in a revolving door policy. You'll also have to crack down on a half a dozen intel agencies and actually get them to cooperate and do their job. So it'd be a long time in coming, but I think it can at least be attempted. Tax reform, but he's talked about that before. The overall message basically is a unity message, though. Much like with 2016, Trump gets cast off as divisive all the time. Well, he hates women, he hates gay people, he hates brown people. Basically, he wanders around bloated with demons of hate all of the time, like he's possessed by Asmodeus or something like that. That's not actually the case, though. The slogan is simply "Make America Great Again." If you fall under that umbrella as an American, of course, you would benefit, assuming that the policies put forward actually do that. Otherwise, it's just an empty slogan. With Trump, though, uniquely, we can actually see what he would do in office because he's been there before. It's sort of more of a take-it-or-leave-it proposition. Whereas with everyone else who's running, some of them have never held office, like Vivek Ramaswamy. Who's currently in the running for presidency. He won't get it. Some of them have been mainly in advisory or other state capacities, so not elected office, like John Bolton. He's worked with, including with the Trump administration. Nikki Haley has political experience, but again, a lot of the people there don't. A lot of the people that would oppose him don't. A lot of people that are entering politics now don't. Trump, though, we can say in that specific job description as president, we know how he would function. Not necessarily exactly, but we know how he will generally go about things. It wasn't a surprise to me that he won more than 60% on the CPAC straw poll. Nobody else comes close. DeSantis a distant second at 20, and everyone else basically disappears. They don't even exist for the purposes of the poll. This is now fundamentally, at this time, barring a dark horse candidate or a real gotcha moment, a real big fail or win, by the way, by Trump or DeSantis or someone else, really, I don't see anything reshuffling. you're likely to see more people jump into the GOP primaries, but as I've explained, it's entirely possible some states just suspend altogether. Overall, I'd say Trump's CPAC speech was good. It was better than many of the speeches that he's made, actually. It does tick all of the marks, although it sort of meanders around some of them, and you can watch it in full if you want. I'm not going to analyze the entire CPAC speech, of course. This particular clip, though, was too juicy not to include the video link in the description. You should definitely watch that. You can get plenty of little quips, and it's almost like a tale of two realities. If you look at people that are GOP or MAGA, and some of us, by the way, are not Republicans at all, it's high praise for Trump. That was good. Here are the points that he made. That's great. If you look at liberal Twitter or what little legacy media coverage is being given, it's, hey, look, there were empty seats here and Trump was low energy. They don't even want to talk about most of his proposals. They just trot out the orange man bad quips about him supposedly being homophobic or whatever. I find that really, really funny, especially when they say that he hates women. He hates women so much that he's trying to point out that they actually exist in a meaningful manner. That's also an interesting inversion of reality I've noticed. Now, I'm wondering whether the real rebuttal won't come from the rhinocons that were called out there at the CPAC speech. Is Paul Ryan going to have a great get-together with Mitt Romney and Kevin McCarthy and deliver a scathing rebuttal like the rhinos that they are? That would be the funniest thing under the sun, and it would be sponsored by Rupert Murdoch of Fox News, apparently. They've decided to join the wall of silence, too. I think that Fox, by the way, does that mainly because they don't expect Trump to win. They expect that they don't want him to be nominee for that reason, and if he is, then they don't want to support him because they think that he'll lose in a general election. Honk honk, none of their donors are in on the joke, by the way. I think it can be overcome, and at this point, I'm more like this. Assuming that Trump doesn't croak or do something completely insane or something, I would vote for Trump anyway. It doesn't matter if I thought that he would lose. I would rather vote for someone that's uniquely qualified for the position, especially at this difficult diplomatic time, than to vote for someone who's unqualified. That would be whoever the Dems nominate. It could be Biden, it could be Buttigieg, it could be Kamala, you. Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of people joining the goddamn MAGA train if she was the nominee, just saying. I haven't seen any Democrats that have distinguished themselves as being votable. I see only a couple of other Republicans, none of which are on the list of people who have announced who I would conceive of voting for in the primary other than Trump. Well, I guess it's probably just going to be Trump 2024 for me by default, even if he doesn't tick every box. You're never going to get a perfect candidate anyway. He said some things that I disagree with, including during his time as president, Syrian air base bombing, his flag-burning proposal, although that was a backhand at Hillary Clinton. That was an inside joke. CIA black sites, some of the bailout, the COVID bailout, I opposed that too. But regardless of that, I can stack his job experience, the 4 years he had, up against everyone else that's conceivably, possibly in the race, and say there's really no alternative at this point. Nobody else has distinguished themselves as being better than that I would consider to be votable. That's about all. Peace out.